Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Ready to roll. Johnson & Johnson's single-dose vaccine is on its way to Michigan after the final green light from the government comes over the weekend.
Fiat Chrysler pleading guilty to charges arising from the long-running UAW corruption probe.
But first, the Local 4 defenders speak with a woman whose car got smashed by a Detroit firefighter, allegedly drinking on the job. At tops our news today at 6, the crash in question involves a Detroit fire engine. It happened right outside a Detroit home after an alleged fire department party.
The Detroit Fire Department was responding to help someone who had fallen ill when the car was hit. As Sean Lay reports, its owner hasn't been able to get answers regarding accountability for much-needed repairs.
Well, we caught up with the owner of that car. That crash happened late last Sunday night, and she tells us what's happened since that drunk firefighter crashed into her car.
I haven't heard from anyone about my car.
What do you think of that?
It's sad. It's messed up because, like I said, I was just, I wasn't expecting it. I was just visiting my sister, and this happened.
She tells the Local 4 defenders tonight she's still in shock. Her car smashed up when a Detroit firefighter hit it with a $500,000 heavy rescue engine last Sunday night. She was visiting her sister on Detroit's east side when her sister got sick and they all called for help. Sources say the fire crew called to help came from a party at another firehouse, and the driver of the fire engine was drunk when he hit her car. Since then, she hasn't gotten one word from the fire department or from Detroit police who took the accident report. Her car sat there for a week until she had to drive it to work today.
That's got to be really frustrating.
Yeah, very frustrating. Because I never been in an accident, car never been hit, and this just happened out of nowhere.
With no one reaching out to her, she reached out to a lawyer who will now hold the fire department accountable for fixing her car. We've been checking for her what's supposed to happen here. The fire department says that she should check with her own insurance, and the city says she can work with the city's law department with bills to fix her car. We'll certainly let you know what happens. Sean Lay, Local 4 Defenders.
All right, Sean, an Ohio man wanted for 3 murders shoots at Detroit police officers outside a hotel. Happened around 10 this morning on Jefferson near Rivard, just east of downtown. Police say they were there to arrest the 55-year-old man as he left the hotel when he saw the officers, grabbed a gun and started shooting. Police shot back, hitting the man several times. He is in critical condition at this hour. No officers nor hotel guests, fortunately, were wounded.
Fiat Chrysler, now part of Stellantis, has pleaded guilty in a long-running corruption probe. Today, the automaker formally admitted to paying more than $3.5 million in bribes to senior UAW officials. Let's get out to Rod Maloney with these new developments. Rod, what else are you learning tonight?
Well, what we're learning here essentially is that Stellantis, the new ownership, wants to put this whole episode in the rearview mirror. They've got cars to build and they want to put this to bed. But the other thing that we learned today is that not only will Fiat Chrysler have federal oversight, but the UAW will also have federal oversight as a way to put this thing away. In pleading guilty, Fiat Chrysler accepts a $30 million fine. Prosecutors saw this 2015 video of then FCA CEO Sergio Marchionne hugging UAW President Dennis Williams, got suspicious. Marchionne died before the probe took hold in earnest. Williams heads to court soon to plead guilty. The feds say former FCA Labor Vice President Alphonse Jacobelli, already serving prison time as well, executed the plan, putting $3.5 million into the national training centers and telling union officials to enjoy themselves, which they did, as did he. This is the former UAW Chrysler Vice President General Holofield on his Naples, Italy honeymoon with then new wife Monica Morgan. She served time for accepting NTC money too. Their mortgage paid off and hundreds of thousands of dollars pushed their way. Holofield died before the investigation. Holofield's successor Norwood Jewell went to prison too. There were designer shoes, golf clubs, and extravagant meals, all purchased with FCA cash. Former U.S. Attorney Matthew Schneider said when FCA first agreed to plead guilty,
criminal conduct by FCA and its executives has significantly undermined the confidence and trust that the men and women working in the plants and on the assembly lines hold in their leaders.
UAW President Rory Gamble told the Automotive Press Association last month this episode has brought much needed change.
The UAW is very much alive. Our efforts along the way have really turned things around. We embraced change as it relates to our culture.
And so now Fiat Chrysler, like any other federal defendant, having pled guilty, has to go for sentencing. That comes on June 21st, but in reality, it will be a formality with the judge deciding whether to accept the plea agreement or not. Reporting live in Auburn Hills, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
We'll see how it plays out. Okay, Rod, thank you.
The U.S. now has a third coronavirus vaccine to try to bring the pandemic to heel, and it is headed to Michigan. According to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, 82,700 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine should be in the state by Wednesday. They will be going to local health departments and hospitals. It was Saturday that the FDA granted emergency use authorization to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Right now, the first vials of the single-dose shot are shipping out. This video we're seeing of the rollout from the McKesson Distribution Center, which is in Kentucky. Meantime, during a White House coronavirus task force meeting, Dr. Anthony Fauci talked about what you can do after you've been fully vaccinated.
What happens if you get doubly vaccinated people with the Pfizer and Moderna, for example, members of family, people coming in, like I use the example of a daughter coming in from out of town who is doubly vaccinated, and a husband and wife doubly vaccinated, and maybe a next door neighbor who you know are doubly vaccinated. Small gatherings in the home of people, I think you can clearly feel that the risk, the relative risk, is so low that you would not have to wear a mask, that you could have a good social gathering within the home. Beyond that is going to be based on a combination of data, a combination of modeling, and a combination of good clinical common sense. And the CDC is working on that right now, and we'll all be together with a good message, hopefully soon.
Now, also during that task force meeting, the director of the CDC said the U.S. is at risk of losing all of its recent gains in the battle against COVID-19 because after weeks of tumbling case numbers, new infections are on the rise again. Experts urge people to continue to follow safety measures because contagious variants are, of course, circling all over the place at the moment.
Moving now to Michigan's latest coronavirus developments. The state reports 1,569 new cases and 12 more deaths over the past 2 days. Today, the state also reports new outbreaks at 29 schools. This week, Livonia is offering 2,500 more vaccine appointments for residents 65 years of age and older. Residents are encouraged to go online to set up an appointment. You can also call between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. The number to call is 734-466-2019.
Let's turn our attention to the weather. We take a live look outside through the sky cam. Look at that skyline.
Yeah, beautiful sunset there. Let's head over to Ben. What are we expecting for tonight and into tomorrow, Ben?
Well, guys, much like what we saw this afternoon, we're really going to be seeing one of our coldest nights of the forecast, at least tonight. Then we start to recover and we can at least resemble a little bit more like the weekend. 31 is where we sit right now in Detroit, but look at those air temperatures in Port Huron right now, 27. So the sunshine looks nice, but kind of a suboptimal feel to the atmosphere. Did even see some snow showers run through here earlier today. This is Storm Tracker 4 from just after noon. Inconsequential, and the sunshine quickly chased them out. That may be the last snowflake we see for more than a week. You can see from the weather impacts, there's not a whole lot here on the board. We will be talking temperatures. That'll be the big story, and they'll be swinging up and down. So we'll look at some of the warmest and coldest of the week in just a few minutes, guys.
All right, Ben. Well, it's March 1st, and March is Women's History Month, the time when we highlight the contributions of women in history and celebrate women who are shattering glass ceilings in contemporary society.
Tonight, we honor one of GM's most prominent electrical engineers, a woman who oversees operations around the world. And when Telva Magruder isn't leading multi-million-dollar projects, she's a Girl Scouts board member.
As Priya Mann reports, Telva spent her life encouraging other women to be themselves and reach new heights.
Talva Magruder was the first woman to lead global facility engineering at GM. She's the first chief of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And to give you some perspective, there's about 160,000 people who work at GM, fewer than 300 senior leaders, and Talva is one of them.
I really want women to understand that they bring something that is so unique, so different.
Talva Magruder has often been one of the only women in the places where decisions are made.
It's strange to look back on your career and really think about what you've accomplished. The thing that has made me so successful is not accommodating how someone else wants me to think, not accommodating how someone else wants me to behave when it comes to how I demonstrate my technical ability.
After graduating from Purdue, the electrical engineer's determined rise up the corporate ladder began at NASA.
Most of them were, not Black, they were white, they were older men. It was typical NASA.
Magruder was unfazed. She knew she had the skill set, intellect, and talent to succeed.
When I say I wasn't intimidated, what I mean is I had enough confidence behind me to be confident that I'd be able to move through those moments.
From NASA, Magruder went to GM, and for nearly 30 years, she created countless cracks in the proverbial glass ceiling, eventually overseeing global facility management.
It's pretty amazing to understand that I led through that. We had problem after problem after problem, but engineers solve problems. And what's even better is we solve problems with people.
And she leads by example.
I love her to death.
Oh, back at you.
Fellow Girl Scout board member Linda Taliaferro says what you see is what you get.
She's authentically Talva Magruder. There's not a facade. It's the same person that's mentoring that young woman that's just starting in her career. It's also the same person that's sitting there with the senior leader at GM.
Magruder wouldn't have gone to Purdue without a partial scholarship from NASA. And now the first robotics mentor for Girl Scouts is making sure the next generation can reach beyond the stars.
What's important to me is to invest in young ladies when they're young so that they can learn that courage, that confidence, that character that we teach in Girl Scouts, so that they can learn bravery.
I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Learn bravery, exactly right. Still ahead, it's the second most common cause of cancer death in the United States.
A simple thing you can do that could save you or your loved one's life. But first, a Catholic diocese in Michigan is facing criticism after implementing a new student policy. Why some say the move does more harm than good.